I would like to make one thing perfectly clear. As fun and exciting as football may be, it always ticks me off whenever people's heads are used as footballs. Also, I don't quite understand the popularity of Cool Whip or Wheat Thins. Hey guys, what's sizzling? It's Daniel, or Dan, or Danny, or DP, or whatever you prefer to call me, as long as it's not hurtful. Welcome to Friday Night's Alright for Chatting. This week, I'll be talking about a specific quality that I have. I was a choir kid. I will admit I'm not exactly sure when this all began. Ever since I was little, I'd perform in concerts with the music classes I took at school. However, it wasn't until the 4th grade when I actually joined a real chorus. In both the 4th and 5th grade, I was in 2 different choruses. The first one was just a regular chorus that all the 4th and 5th graders had to be in. It also met as a class during the day. The other group, on the other hand, was an auditioned chorus. This group was called the Drifters. 2 years later, in the 7th grade, I was in the chorus at my middle school. Even though it was only my first year, there was one song that I had a solo in. I continued to do middle school chorus up until the end of 8th grade, and even had one more solo towards the end of that year. Also in 8th grade, I did junior districts, where I sang with other middle schoolers and worked under the leadership of a wonderful choral director. Around the time in which I was about to graduate middle school, I auditioned for the show choir and the chamber choir at the high school which I was going to attend. I didn't think I'd make it into either based on how I did at the auditions, but miraculously, I did! In both my freshman and sophomore years of high school, I was in not 1, but 3 choirs at my school. Let me explain something for context purposes. At the time, we had a mixed gender show choir, an all-female show choir, a chamber choir, and a regular concert choir. My first 2 years, I was in the mixed gender show choir, which met 1 to 2 nights a week, the chamber choir, which met Thursdays after school my freshman year, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays before school my sophomore year, and I was also in the regular concert choir, which met during the day and counted as a class. I was even elected as president in this concert choir in my freshman year. One bonus feature was that starting my sophomore year, I was accepted into my school's chapter of Tri-M, which is the music equivalent of the National Honor Society. In my junior year, a few changes were made. Chamber choir now met during the school day, so that meant I was no longer in the regular concert choir, and an all-male show choir was added. Therefore, I was in 2 different show choirs. Throughout my years of doing show choir and chamber choir, we'd attend and compete in many choral competitions and choral festivals all across the country. Some competitions were small and only local, while other competitions were nationally recognized and held in cities such as New York, Orlando, DC, Branson, and Cincinnati. While we wouldn't always score high at every competition, there were plenty of moments where we scored really, really well. At the end of the day, what mattered the most wasn't winning medals or trophies, but it was all about giving our all on and off stage and proving that choral arts are far from dead. In addition to being part of my high school's choirs, I also did senior districts 3 out of 4 years of my high school career, and in 2 of those 3 years I did districts, I also did all states. These were definitely insanely fun experiences where I got to work with great directors, sing phenomenal choral works, and make unforgettable friends. Also, after I graduated high school, I spent much of that summer at the Boston University Tanglewood Institute. As part of the experience, I got to sing with the chorus at the Tanglewood Music Center. In college, things took a much different turn than the years before. There isn't a show choir at my college. I tried starting one, but I'm just too busy. But, however, I've still been involved in the choirs that are there. We don't compete, but we do plenty of shows each year. We often travel to schools and churches to sing for them, and there was even a time where one all-male college glee club came to collaborate with our men's choir. Every year on the weekend after Thanksgiving break, we have a Christmas Gala. This is an annual, seasonal event that combines all 3 of the choirs at my college, with our band and our orchestra, as well as an organist and a guest narrator. Also, every year when I finish for the summer, I always get involved in my high school's annual alumni concert. This is an event that includes alumni solo acts, as well as a show choir number finale featuring current seniors and alumni. So that's my choral journey. Now with that said, here are my top 10 favorite memories of when I was a choir kid. When two of our show choirs, as well as our chamber choir, traveled to New York City to compete in my freshman year. Although this was a bit hectic at times and there was drama that ensued, the positives outweighed the negatives. Our mixed gender show choir placed 6th in our division, our chamber choir placed 3rd in our division, and our all-female show choir placed 2nd in their division, which qualified them as finalists to compete in Chicago. We also saw a Broadway show, had a master class with a Broadway actor, ate some great food, and even had an extremely lit party cruise. I'm on a boat! I'm on a boat! Everybody look at me, 'cause I'm sailing on a boat! Sorry, I promise I will never do that again. The time that my high school's mixed gender show choir traveled to Orlando to compete in my sophomore year. Even though this trip was also occasionally hectic, once again, the positives won the day. We scored really well, won a number of awards in certain categories for our soloists and our instrumental combo, and even placed 3rd overall in our division, which meant that we were also invited to Chicago to compete as finalists. However, we did turn that down due to scheduling conflicts, resulting in a later memory on this list. In addition, we also got to enjoy all the rides and attractions at Universal Studios. Well, at least a majority of them. The time that all 3 of my high school's show choirs, including our new all-male group, traveled to Branson, Missouri to compete in my junior year. This was where, in addition to competing, we also visited the famous amusement park Silver Dollar City, enjoyed a boat show on the Branson Belle, attended a performance of a well-known Branson group called the Hay Goods, and even did some last-minute go-karting and boat riding on the day we were flying back. The times when my high school's show choirs host their own competition every year. This is always a huge delight, especially since we often have groups from all across the country, and we've even had a group from Canada come at least a couple times. The time in my senior year where all 3 of our show choirs and our chamber choir went on a 5-day road trip to compete in the Midwest. This felt like a real-life version of Avengers Endgame. 1, because all the choirs were traveling together to do what they do best. And 2, this was my last high school choral trip. Man, what a finale! Attending my high school's annual end-of-the-year choral banquets. This has always been such an epic finale, featuring dinner at a fancy country club, memories to look back on, custom plate awards made by our own director, and even distinguished academic achievement awards and scholarships related to music. Winning a Standout Performer Award at a show choir competition we went to in my senior year. This award was not handed out by any of the judges, but by show choir alums from the high school at which we were competing. My high school chamber choir's 4-day trip to Washington, D.C. during the spring break of my sophomore year. This is hands down my favorite choral trip that I've ever been on. Even better than that 5-day road trip in my senior year. It was an amazingly fun, informative, and even surprisingly very relaxing trip. My first ever experience doing all states. This was where I sung some of the best choral music out there, worked with an amazing director who also happened to be very kind and calm and cool throughout the entire experience, and even sang at one of the top music halls in the country. Getting to perform at this year's Alumni Cabaret at my high school. Here I got to sing and play one of my compositions, as well as a mashup I arranged, and as I mentioned earlier, I also got to join in a show choir finale number featuring current seniors and alumni. The mix of nostalgia, pride, community, humility, and most importantly love was incredibly overwhelming. In a good way though. In fact, in the best way. This has to be my favorite memory of the year so far. Well, that's the end of this week's episode. Were you a choir kid? If yes, how was your experience? Please feel free to keep the conversation going by either dropping a comment or a video response with the hashtag Friday Nights Alright for chatting. Don't be mean though, I'm watching you. If you like this video, please feel free to click the like button. If you want to follow me on more of my adventures, please feel free to click the subscribe button and also ring the bell to get notifications whenever my next videos are up. I've also left links to all of my social media accounts in the description below, if you want to follow me on social media. Alrighty, thanks for watching, I'll see you next week, stay awesome!